The UFC is going back to Canada in a fight night that's not necessarily stacked, but there's a lot of recognizable names, a lot of names that we know of. The matchups aren't great. There's not a lot of matchups that are very exciting. There are a lot of close fights, a lot of pick'ems on this card. I already know I'm not going to do great on picks in this card because there are a lot of fighters that you can't trust that I'll get into. But the main event is actually pretty good. It's a rebooking. It was supposed to take place in February, Mexico City. Brendson Moreno versus Amir Albazi. Last time Amir pulled out. He's finally back after, I think, over a year off. His last win was against Caio of France in a fight that many people thought he lost, including myself. At first, I thought I was saying, oh, this is the worst robbery in the sport. 4-1 Caio of France, every round except for the third. I rewatched it, and it was a lot closer than I thought. I think in the first round, the striking numbers had to be off in that fight because they were saying Caio of France was doubling his strikes, which I just didn't see that. I thought Amir actually won the first round. Caio of France could have won it, but he didn't throw a punch in like the first 3 minutes. That kind of lost him the round. Second round was actually a lot closer than I thought. I think it actually could have gone Amir's way. I still lean Caio of France. It was a good performance by Amir Albazi. He is a really good grappler. To be able to get a guy like Caio of France down on the mat in the third round. But outside of that, he didn't really have much success in the grappling. His entries weren't that great, if I'm going to be honest. I do think he's going to get Brendson Moreno down, who we'll talk about in a little bit. I do think he's going to be able to take him down. I don't think that he's going to submit him. I don't think that he's going to take him down very often. I think Moreno will do well in the grappling. He'll probably lose a round just like Caio of France or two because of the grappling. Maybe Amir controls him for a round, and then in a close round, he ends the round with a takedown. I do think that this is going to be a close fight. I don't think either guy is going to get really hurt in this fight. Amir took Caio of France's shots well, who's very powerful. More powerful than Brendson Moreno, even though Moreno finished him. In a fight that Caio of France arguably was winning until the finish. Now, Brendson Moreno, good striker. It's tough because he's lost a ton of split decisions. It feels like whenever a fight is close, it never goes his way. But he does leave it to the judges often. He is, in his last fight, at least very low output. And he lost the fight against Brandon Royval in a fight where both guys did not look good. Brandon Royval, he has an excuse. He took it on like a week or two notice at elevation. He has an excuse. Moreno has no excuse. I get it was at elevation, but he really did not look good at all. He looked slow, low output, and he looked tired in like the third, fourth round, which isn't like him. I am a little bit worried because if he shows up, has a slow start in the first round, slows down as the fight goes on, he may lose a close decision. I think that this is going to be a split decision. I am going to go with Brendson Moreno. He should win this fight. He is the favorite. But I could see if he starts off slow in a low output fight, Amir takes the first round and has a very similar fight to the Caio of France fight. I think Moreno he absolutely is the better striker. He should win this fight. I'm going to pick him by a 48-47 close decision. Moving on to the co-main event, Rose Namajunas, Erin Blanchfield. This is a fight that I'm kind of talking about where I can't really trust either one, specifically Blanchfield. Blanchfield was on a very good run, only 25 years old, very good grappler, and she looked horrible in her last fight. She did face, I think her name's Farhat, the French woman, who's a very good fighter. I actually think that she could beat Shevchenko. She has phenomenal takedown defense. Except Blanchfield, in that fight, her takedowns were very poor. She kept on trying to trip the bigger person instead of, just blasting double legs. Really not a good performance. Her striking looked awful. Rose is obviously the better striker. Rose is going to light her up on the feet. Part of the problem, though, is Rose doesn't have a ton of... I know that she knocked down Cortez in one of the rounds. She doesn't have a ton of power in this division compared to, I think strawweight. She had a ton of power there. Not really as fast, not really as powerful. She is very well-rounded. She's, I think, overall the better fighter than Blanchfield. And I don't want to pick Blanchfield because I picked her last time and she got 50-45. She looked awful. The only success that she had is she had like a guillotine for a few seconds in like the first round. I am going to go with Blanchfield. The reason why is I think that she has better... Firat has way better takedown defense, or harder to take down because of her size compared to Rose. Rose, you know, she is a good grappler. She probably will get taken down. And I think it's a 3-round fight. Blanchfield needs 2 takedowns to win. Usually in WMMA, they favor control over damage for some reason. I don't think that Rose is going to hurt her. I'm going to go with Blanchfield, probably by another split decision. This is going to be, again, a lot of close fights in this card. Moving on, Derrick Lewis versus Diniz. Again, another, almost a pick'em, another very close fight. Derrick Lewis, 3 rounds. He does have the gas tank to fight 3 rounds. Not really worried about that. So does Diniz. Diniz won his last fight. He pretty much has all finishes except for his last fight against Carl Williams, where Williams could have easily won that fight. I picked him to win, and he just refused to shoot a takedown. I think he got cut because he lost. Makes me very happy. You know, I just hate when fighters are so low IQ and they don't try to win. They try to lose. Diniz had him wobbling all over the cage. He is the better technical striker compared to Derrick Lewis, and this is a matchup and the level of opponent that Derrick Lewis can win. I think Diniz is a lot more technical on the feet. I think he is the better striker. A little bit worried that Derrick Lewis is just going to catch him with a big bomb and put him away. I think if you're picking Derrick Lewis, you're picking him by a first round knockout, second round. He does carry power late, Derrick Lewis. I am going to go with Diniz. Honestly, by a decision, which I do think he's going to hurt Lewis. But I could see this, again, being another close decision and not a knockout unless Derrick Lewis catches him. I'm going to go with Diniz in this one. Moving on, we have Machado versus, I think, Ribeiro. Machado moving down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. I don't really like that. Heavyweight is a lot worse. Lighter man skill. Machado has never been finished, I don't think. I think both of these guys are 0-2 in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go with Ribeiro just solely because of lighter man's skill. He's going to have the speed advantage, and I think he's crazy enough to catch Machado. I'm going to go with him by finish. I'm going to say early second round. Moving on, Marc-Andre Barriault versus Stolzfus. You know, this is another one that's very interesting because in another close fight. So both of these guys are chinny. Stolzfus is more chinny. I was saying in the fight Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre, you know, Marc-Andre has a decent chin. He doesn't really get knocked out a ton. He gets hit, but he doesn't get knocked out a ton. And he got absolutely flatlined. I picked Joe Pyfer by decision, but man, Marc got absolutely flatlined. Horrible. Stolzfus, I don't think Marc-Andre has a ton of power, so I don't know if he's going to put away Stolzfus because Stolzfus gets put away in like almost every one of his losses. And Marc-Andre isn't super chinny, but he's coming back 4 months after a flatline KO. So both of these guys are chinny. Both of them don't really have a ton of power. I do think that this is going to go the distance. And I'm going to pick Marc-Andre. Risky because I'm picking a Canadian. The Canadian men in the last card went like 0 for 7 or something. I am going to pick him though. I do think that he's the better fighter. But moving on. Mike Mallet versus Trevin Giles. I'm going to go with Mike Mallet. Another tough one because Mike Mallet quit in his last fight against Neil Magny. I mean, getting finished by Neil Magny, that's crazy. That's just insane. He got one of the biggest fraud checks I've ever seen. Mallet, he does have cardio issues. He does not have good cardio. He completely gassed in his last fight. He is a finisher, though. He could finish you anywhere. Trevin Giles is a guy that gets finished. He gets knocked out. He gets submitted. I am going to pick Mallet by finish. Mallet has been looking great, except for, he was beating Neil Magny clearly for 2.5 rounds, and then he gassed himself. I don't think that this is going to go the distance. I'm going to say Mike Mallet by submission. I think that he's going to knock him down and then submit him. That's my pick. Moving on. This is another pick'em fight, and a fight where I can't trust. I want to pick Pedro Munhoz. I can't trust him. That's another issue. Munhoz looked awful in his last fight. Even though I picked him against Kyler Phillips, horrible pick. He's a guy that I never thought was that good. He is very durable, and that's why people say he's good. Like, oh, he's so, the thing about Munhoz is he's in there, with the toughest guys, and he's surviving. He's not getting finished. And it's like, yeah, but he's getting 30-27 in every one of the fights. He lost to Dominic Cruz. He's fighting Zahabi. Zahabi has a lot more power. Munhoz isn't a finisher. He doesn't get finishes. Zahabi has the power advantage. Zahabi has a good team around him. Munhoz is 38, but Zahabi's 36. I'm going to pick Pedro Munhoz. I'm probably going to regret this. It's funny because after Munhoz's last fight, I said I'm never picking him again. After Blanchfield's last fight, I said I'm never picking her again. After Mallet's last fight, I said I'm never picking him again. But I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick Pedro. He's high output. Zahabi is low output. He's Canadian. That's another disadvantage. I'm picking Pedro Munhoz by decision. Moving on, we have Jasmine versus Lipski. So Jasmine, she's a wrestler, very good wrestler. Lipski does have good takedown defense. She's the younger fighter, I believe. She's the better striker. I am going to go with Jasmine because I think that her grappling is that much better than Lipski, where she is going to get the takedowns. In WMMA, like I said, they value control time over damage. Sometimes the judges are always inconsistent, but especially for WMMA. I'm going to go Jasmine by decision. Another pick'em fight. Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. Charles Jourdain is coming, he's coming off of that nasty KO loss to Gene Silva. Nothing bad with getting knocked out by Gene Silva. He also was coming off of the decision loss to Sean Woodson, which I thought he clearly lost. Again, nothing shameful. Sean Woodson, he's very tall, very long. Good fighter. He's not losing to bad guys. His wins aren't great. Not like super high level wins. Victor Henry, I think, is a little bit higher output. I think that Charles Jourdain, I believe, is moving down to bantamweight. I think that's a horrible move. Whenever fighters move down, it never goes their way. Like Dan Hooker. There's been a lot of examples that outside of Jose Aldo is like the only one I can think of where it worked out somewhat. Victor Henry, he is a lot older, which is worrisome. Charles Jourdain is Canadian though, so it evens out. I am going to go with Victor Henry. Again, I think that he's higher output. Jourdain, I think his chin is going to be really bad. Getting KO'd and then moving down. I mean, ask Holloway. I know he didn't get KO'd against Gaethje, but still, ask Volk. It never works out. I'm going to go with Victor Henry in a decision. This is another pick'em fight and another guy, two guys where I said I didn't pick either of them in their last fights, but I picked against them, which worked out, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to pick these guys suck. But I have to pick one of them. We have, I believe, Rodrigo Nascimento versus Alexandr Romanov. You can't trust either of these guys. I think Nascimento is a little bit more trustworthy in 2024. Romanov is washed. He's fat. He's a quitter. He just doesn't have it anymore, even though he's, I think, the younger fighter. He's like 31, 30. So really weird for a heavyweight to be washed at 30. He is a good grappler. Rodrigo is also a good grappler. I don't think he's as good as Romanov on the ground. He is the better striker, though. He is very capable. He actually was landing good punches on Derrick Lewis until he got caught. He was looking good in that fight. Arguably was up 2-0. Derrick Lewis, he's not good, but he's not a bad heavyweight. I'm going to go with Nascimento by finish. He's not really a finisher. I'm going to go with him by a third round TKO, probably from Mount. I just think Romanov is going to gas after the first round. He has a way worse gas tank, and he's going to quit again. Moving on. We have, I believe, Garrett Armfield versus City. So Armfield, his last fight, I think, was against Brady Highstand. It was an amazing fight. Both of these guys, their last fight, which they both lost, some of the best fights of the year. That Armfield, his last fight, was crazy. He had a locked-in armbar in the first round, and he just couldn't fit. The guy, Brady, would not tap. And he was almost submitted multiple times in the first round. He would not tap. He hurt Brady bad in the second round. He hurt him bad. And then the third round, it was so high pace that he didn't quit, but he just got taken down. He was gassed and then choked out. He was, I think, a 2-1 favorite in that fight too. City, I picked him in his last fight, UFC debut against Tavares. Tavares missed weight by 4 or 5 pounds. I thought City, it was such a close fight. He made weight. I thought that he won that fight against Tavares. I thought it may have been, it's up there with the fight of the year. It wasn't the fight of the year. It's probably in the top 10, top 15 though. Same with the Armfield fight. City, he has that dog in him. He's a very good striker, mixes it in. He's also a decent grappler. He's going to be like twice the size as Armfield. He's going to have a massive reach advantage, massive height advantage. He does fight kind of close quarters. He doesn't really use it that well. He doesn't really fight at range. He's very good. I could see like a flying knee KO. I could see him hurting him with a knee up the middle because of the height advantage. He has a really good knee to the body, which is going to be a knee to the head in this fight. The way I'm talking is like, I want to pick City. City is very chinny. He gets hurt in all of his fights pretty much. He got hurt bad, I think, in the first and second round, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. This is probably the hardest fight to predict for me. I like both guys. The head kick is going to be there for City. I could see Armfield catching him, though, because Armfield is legitimately good. He beat Brackettona, who's decent. City is Canadian. This is another fight that's like a pick'em to me. I'm going to go with Armfield because he's... No, I'm probably going to regret this. I love City. I'm going to pick him because I like him more. This is a toss-up. I think that he has a better gas tank. If he doesn't get finished, I could see him winning this fight. I'm going with City. Moving on, Cody Gibson, versus Chad, I think Angler, I forgot how you say it, another Canadian. Chad is a little bit more dangerous everywhere pretty much. Cody Gibson, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is bigger. He's longer. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded. He's not as dangerous. He's good at using his reach. I think he's going to win a decision. This is the type of opponent that he could beat. Both guys are like 37. I'm going with Cody Gibson. All right, second to last fight. Linhorth versus Ivana Petrovic. Petrovic, I believe, is the grappler. Jamie Linhorth is the striker. Linhorth obviously has better striking, and she's very big. I don't know if Ivana's going to be good enough to take her down. I usually pick the grapplers in WMMA. I'm going to go with Linhorth. The Canadian women, they usually win. I'm going to go with her by decision. I believe that this is the last fight on the card, opening up the early prelims. Jack Shore versus Youssef Salal. I'm going to go with Youssef Salal in this fight. Jack Shore is well-rounded. He's good everywhere. He's not really great anywhere. He has good boxing. He's a decent grappler. He doesn't do as well when he's on the back foot. He got his leg chewed up against Joe Anderson Brito. He wasn't doing well on the back foot in that fight. He is tough, though. He's not super easy to finish. That was kind of a doctor stoppage. His leg kind of gave up on him. Not really his fault. Zalal does have great kicks. He's a good kickboxer. He's probably going to chew up Jack Shore's leg. I think Jack Shore is, I think this is at featherweight. He's pretty small for featherweight. This is like one of the few times where I'm not sure if lighter man skill is going to work. Zalal has looked like an animal. I think Zalal is the better grappler. I'm going to pick him by decision. I think that Jack Shore is really good. Yeah, I think he's good. I just think he's very durable. Zalal does have great trips, so he's probably going to get takedowns. And he has good subs. I could see him submitting Jack Shore. But I'm going to go with the decision in this fight. That's all my picks. Hopefully we go 8 for 14, 9 for 14. I wouldn't be mad. This is a very tough card to predict. Let me know who you got in the card, in the main event, co-main. That is it for me. But yeah, that is it.